Hey guys, welcome. Hat Tuesday, number 37. Hat Tuesday, number 37. And we already have a guest in the lobby. Let me bring him in. Robert, how you doing, my friend?
I'm well, thank you.
All
Good
right,
morning.
excellent. I know Paul was supposed to join us. Just wanted to open it up. Any hat news to share with the audience?
Um, just trying to think. It's been I pretty much dedicated the month of May to doing my Panamas. So
Oh
I've
yeah.
I've got I'm about a week behind schedule, um,
Okay. Yeah.
but I've got them all out the door, and I'm going to submit this coming week because I got an order uh, 2 days ago for two
Yeah.
more, and there's another guy in the wings that want one. And what I did was I dedicated the month of May to straws and kind of bumped them up ahead of the felts because I figured any fellow that wanted a felt hat isn't
Yeah.
going to necessarily want it for the summer. And uh, so, anyways, I'm extending the my Panama making into at least the first week of June. But
All right.
um, I got one more order that's maybe going to come today, and then I'll cap it and I'll revert back to my felts. So it's been a really good year
Yeah.
for the Panamas, and this is my third year of making them. And after the first year, I wasn't going to do it. Um,
Yeah.
it wasn't fun. It was just hard because the straws are so different from felt,
Yeah.
and it's like But then I thought, but I had some left over, so year two. I brought in a few more and decided, well, I'll give it one more year. I shouldn't give up that easily,
Yeah.
and and I kind of got the hang of it, and so now there's still frustrations in it, but I'm feeling ever so much more comfortable, and it doesn't take me quite as long. So, and it's been such a successful season for them. I think
Yeah.
I'll keep offering them.
All right, that's good to hear. Paul, welcome, Paul. How are you?
Nice to
Well,
see you, Luke. Nice to see you, Robert. I'm very well,
Likewise.
thank you. I'm sorry I haven't been with you for a few weeks, but business has taken me elsewhere, as it were, and you know how it is. It's just one
Yeah,
thing or another. But hat-wise, been very busy, which I'm really, really. I mean, how on earth can people buy lots of you know felt hats at this time of year when it really should be straws? I just don't get
yeah,
it. I've just had one of my better months. No, there's no rhyme or reason.
yeah,
it's interesting because usually um, I look forward to July and August because I've whittled down my wait list, and usually into July and August, I get very few orders for felts. People just aren't thinking about them at all. And
yeah,
then kind of towards the end of August and then into September, it ramps up again and my wait list grows. But usually I have a quiet summer once I get the straws caught up. I very few felt orders during the summer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And some folks, I mean, some folks are just not into the Panamas, and it's one of those things where it's like I feel like it's a good compliment to any collection, even if you're a fan. But there are some folks that just won't. They won't do it. But yeah, I agreed. Weather-wise, it's definitely more amenable for the Panamas. Um, yeah, and yeah, it actually it's a good actually dovetail to the conversation for today, which Paul, this feels like one of your topics, but I'm not sure. But either way, it's a great topic. What will define how the hat market grows and maybe develops throughout the subsequent years, right? I mean, obviously that's one of those things that you always want to try to be forward looking, regardless of whether you're in the business or not. You kind of wonder, you use your imagination and see where can this go, right? We know where we've been, and maybe that can help unlock where we could go, with this hat market. I'm going to open up the floor, to any pontifications on that front.
I it was interesting when I read your topic because it was like it it got the wheels grinding, and but the only place that I would come back to is um, I wouldn't say the hat market is growing.
Yeah.
That's been my observation in the time, I don't know, I guess maybe 25 years that I've been involved as a buyer, collector, and now maker.
Yeah.
It was a niche market back then, and it's still a niche market now. And in the 8 years I've been doing this, I haven't observed any great growth. My clientele now is pretty much the same demographic now as it was when I began.
Yeah.
So I don't see any growth. I just see it as a niche market, and I can't speculate where it might go. I certainly don't anticipate that it's going to become the rage, and all of a sudden our business is going to boom.
Right.
I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I think what we see these days is that any product, whether it's hats or anything, is majorly influenced by what's going on in the media. And so I think that if you were to have a Western, when we had the Western, there's one big Western series, and I can't remember the name of it now, on the television over here. That's an American Western series, and they wear a specific style of Western hat, and it's gone mad that people want that style of hat. And
Yeah.
I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that, if you've got somebody on the television that's driving a specific car and they get some form of cult status, then you'll have people wanting that car or aspiring to want that car. And I think with hats, what we've really got to do is we've got to get the two things. We've got to get the top end, where we've got the couture makers and people like ourselves, handmade makers. Yes, we'll carry on doing what we're doing, but actually we've got to try and influence the retailers, are the mass retailers and the mass manufacturers, to I think come up a level in terms of their design, color especially, and styles, because over in the UK we're very, very straightforward and conservative, in my opinion, in our mass market hats. And I think we need to work on that. And materials will follow, I'm sure, and other things that influence. And then on top of that, things like packaging and just the perception of actually giving a hat as a gift, for instance. It doesn't happen very often, but every now and again, I get a customer who's had one purchase for them for a gift. Well, there's a market that hasn't been opened. So I think it does take somebody to want to influence that market, and that costs time, effort, and money. And the time, effort, and money that the likes of myself, I certainly don't have it. And so therefore we have to run the wave, as they say, and just go along with what's happening and do our little bit and be comfortable with that.
Yeah. I definitely have a follow-up to that. I just want to make sure. Welcome to Nathan, who just joined us. Nathan, how you doing, my friend? Just if you had anything to chime in with in terms of where do you see this market going? Obviously you're a business owner, you have employees. I don't know if you have any observations, or maybe from fellow hat wearers, about where you think this goes, or where it could.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys. I was just thinking about the topic. I mean, to sell anything, you're gonna need a demand for the product, and both Robert and Paul kind of echo their sentiments. But how do you create that demand for a product that has really seen the decline in the last 60 something years? And I think there's the practical value of it, but see, that's not as practical as it was, years ago. And then the other side of it is the stylish demand of it. So something's going to have to happen. Like Paul mentioned, that TV show and entertainment drives a lot of the styles of dress. That plays a big factor in it. So, how do you create that demand? I've seen, I think it takes Hat Tuesdays. It's Paul putting his content out on YouTube. Wolf Bray has some content out there. KTG, I think he's got about 48,000 followers. It seems like I get a video from that Zito hat company a couple of times a week on their posting about their designs and hat making, like a hat off, or they kind of do these competitions with these hat builds. So just that creates demand, like the style demand of it. But I think that's the trick, is like, well, how do you create the demand for a product that, you know, isn't really in demand all that much? And you think about Apple, the Apple iPhone, they've done a great job marketing, because when they come out with their new iPhone, they present it in a way that you need that. I know you have last year's, but you need this one right here. And they create that demand for that. And then, you know, even KTG, to an extent, with his runs that he does, you know, he'll come out with a different style. He'll try to come out with a different color combo, because it puts that demand in front of you and say, well, yeah, I know you've ordered maybe one or two in the past, but here's the new model. Here's the new design, the new color. So how do you create that demand for that product? I think is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Here's a question to that, though, is just trying to collect my thoughts. So you've got, because you have hat wearers, and then the mass of people who are not hat wearers.
Right.
So there's two different ways to approach the marketing.
Yeah.
Are you attracting those that are already hat wearers, or are you bringing new people in?
Right.
Good point.
And that I think that's the critical feature, because my point is that the customers that I serve and have always served, they are hat wearers.
Right.
And they discovered me because before that, they had no idea that such a thing as a custom hat maker existed, let alone one in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
But they were already hat wearers. I didn't have to convince them of that fact.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And it just brings me to the point of, you know, that's, I guess, related. You know, are you somebody that is used to having something in your head? Obviously, we know that trucker hats and ball caps, flat caps, right? There are folks that wear flat caps only, but they wouldn't wear a Panama or a traditional fedora. You know, that right there is like, how do you convert somebody that is not used to wearing something on their head to come into that? And then on the other side is, okay, how do you have somebody that is used to, let's say, wearing a ball cap or a trucker hat to consider maybe moving down the line? Maybe it's a gradation to go from the ball cap to a flat cap, then start maybe to a stingy brim fedora, or something along those lines. I feel like those are two different ways to kind of attack, you know, and grow the market.
Yeah, I think that's a great thought, because, you know, the hat wearers, you know, they're going to order hats. They're going to get hat bills. Right. They're going to buy hats. That person the people that don't really wear, are not hat wearers, you are going to market to them in a totally different way. So if I don't wear hats and I see YouTube and I see these hat companies and these custom hatters, they're putting designs out there. It looks good. They've got good editing, and, you know, just presenting a product in a way that's appealing may turn them into a hat wearer, or at least maybe order a hat. I think the other thing too is like ordering hats for occasions, because someone that's not a hat wearer may order a hat just because of an occasion. Maybe it's some kind of party or a gathering or an anniversary or a wedding, or something where they just are going to wear a hat and they want to have one made. And I think, and I love Robert's, he mentioned some time ago about budget. You know, when you go to make a hat, he'll say, well, what's your budget? Because, and I never really dug into that much with custom hat makers, because if I say, well, you know, I want a traditional fedora and my budget is, you know, $200. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that's something you can work with, because your felt material is going to be different. The materials you use to build that hat are going to be different. So, and it's only on the other spectrum as well too. If it's your budget's a lot higher, then you're using better quality stuff. But those new people, they're not going to come in and spend $300, $400, $500 on a custom hat. They're going to set a fairly low budget. And I see a lot of these hat makers on social media that, you know, I just wonder, like, what materials are they using? Because they're creating they're making hats. I don't know if they're really hats you would wear every day, but they're statement pieces, or they're replicas of a entertainment hat entertainment somewhere. So I think Robert's got a good point. Like, how do you market to people a lot differently than the hat wearer versus somebody that's not a hat wearer, and then find out why they want to wear a hat or why they want to order one.
Yeah, and I agree that with Robert, that I don't think it's growing. In many ways, maybe it's transforming, right? We talked about the trucker caps and the ball caps and the proliferation of those, but we also mentioned in previous shows about the rise of the festival hat. The hats for the occasion. Yeah,
it's interesting that I'm a friend, acquaintance, a fellow hatter here in Vancouver, who his niche is the festival hat. Nick Fouquet is his inspiration, and he's built a business making that hat. Like, that's the only hat that he makes is variations on a theme. But I guess it was in the last couple of months communicating with him, and he says the distressed look and the really outrageous, it's like that market is dying.
Yeah.
And he's now supplying, it's the same look,
right,
but it's toned down. It's not distressed. It's not, it's not tarted up.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So I thought, okay, that's interesting. And I don't know, I mean, he's my only example, so I don't know if that's indicative of the marketplace in general or just his market.
Yeah, it could be saturation, oversaturation, because you do see those folks. I feel like they're out there a little bit more. They're a little bit more likely to see them on Instagram and vice versa. In terms of the promotion, so they're definitely a little flashier, a little more out there. But obviously, the big overall capper here we're talking about is economics, right? We have Nathan mentioned that we're talking about cost. And how much discretionary money is out there for the hat market to support. These are all big issues.
Yeah, it is. I guess in most, is it 85% of it is going to be discretionary income because of the practical value it's just not in high demand like that. So then you're not I don't think a person's like, man, I gotta have a hat because I don't have a hat, my life is suffering,
Yeah.
So you don't see that, right? So it is kind of discretionary income that it's something that you kind of want to have.
Yeah.
I think the practical need is obviously an area that we cater for, and certainly if you look at Australia, for instance, and the Akubra hats and the other bush hats they have down there, because their temperatures are so high, it's a dark, very dense felt that they have and they use, and that gives them the protection with the wide brims against the sun. So everybody will have a hat that goes out in the sun for any length of time. Here in the UK, it's much more. There are practical needs, but then it's getting over that confidence thing about looking different. It's a bit like when you're a youngster and you're growing up and you've all been wearing jeans and t-shirts and so on in the playground or at college, and all of a sudden you come up with a job that requires you to wear a sports jacket and trousers or a suit.
Right.
And you think to yourself, oh my goodness, my mates are going to take the mickey out of me. They're going to rip me. I'm going to feel uncomfortable and so on. And I think that's the same with hats, is that, people shy away from wearing them because they feel as though they are going to stick out in a crowd. But there is a way that you can actually use that to your advantage. So tomorrow, for instance, I'm going to for 3 days, I'm going to an event, a show, a trade show. And it's the first time that the company that I'm representing is going to be there, and I'm there on my own. And I want to make a bit of an impact to be able to actually see and meet the people that are pretty senior business owners and CEOs of large leisure companies. So, I'm going to go in there looking really smart, but then I'm going to be wearing a hat and a scarf and everything else that I'll walk into a room and it will make a difference. And I think that's the thing. It's not per se me trying to be flash. It's actually me wanting to create a situation where people will gravitate to me so that I don't have to do much of the work to go and get and see people because they'll want to talk to me. You know, why have you got that look? Why have you come like that? Why do you, whatever. I think that's another thing to look at is why are you using the hat? You know, what's the hat about? Is there a purpose for you, or is it just a fashion statement that you want to make? You know?
Yeah, you definitely get known as the hat person, so that you will stick. You know what I mean? Like we talked about before. Regardless of what you're not, you will stick out. But if you can use that in a very smart way, I can see that paying a lot of dividends because it's like you want to be memorable.
You want to get a quick impact. That's how to do it. You know.
But that's the thing, Luke, is that's the impediment because people don't. I think. Talking generalities,
right?
People don't want to be seen.
Yeah,
and that's the impediment wearing a hat because they don't want to walk into. Invariably, when Elaine and I walk into our neighborhood pub, it's like our hats get noticed, and then we get noticed, and invariably somebody makes a comment, and I think the majority of people don't want that level of attention.
No, right. I would totally agree with you. Yeah,
agreed.
Hey, Luke, the delivery truck just pulled up, and so I'm gonna step off screen for a minute. I'm gonna take care of this, and I'll come right back.
Nathan. Sounds good.
The other thing I want to loop back to what you were saying, Paul, about the marketing, and it goes back, I think, to somewhere in the early 2000s, that Stetson hired a fellow by the name of Matt Deckard, who is I'm not exactly sure of his background or his bona fides, but he was somewhat of a style maven.
Yeah.
He would sport the vintage look, 1930s, 1940s, and he wore a hat. And he had some renown as this fashion maven. So Stetson actually hired him to head up their fedora division.
Ah, okay.
With the mandate to update both the look of the Stetson and the quality of the Stetson hats. And for a while, it's like the people on the when I first came on the Fedora Lounge, people would rave about Matt Deckard, and what he had done at Stetson, but there was a culture clash because there was that which he wanted to do, that which he was given a mandate to do, and then I don't know if it was the accounting department or somebody squelched it, and relatively short period of time, Matt Deckard was fired.
Wow.
And that was the end of that.
Yeah.
So it's on a mass, there's nobody bigger in the hat field than Stetson. It's like the desired, like it's price point driven, and they don't care about the quality, and as long as probably 90% of what they sell are Western hats, and as long as they've got that market, they don't care. It's like what we're doing is such a small niche that at the corporate level, no one cares. They can't afford to care. Right.
Yeah. I mean, getting to the point that Paul made before about like cultural, you have this idea of these iconic movies. Obviously, there's Peaky Blinders and Boardwalk Empire and all the various other shows. And obviously, we talked about celebrities like Johnny Depp, and obviously he's connected to Borsalino. That's one of his favorite brands, and you would think that those partnerships would be so easy for them to make. And I mean, I'm sure there are maybe a whole host of reasons for why they don't happen. But you're kind of surprised. I'm like, if I'm Borsalino, I'm going to latch on to Johnny Depp and see what I can do. You know what I mean? Maybe they already have, and maybe they just couldn't work up a deal that was worth his while. But you're thinking you think of iconic things like the Marlboro Man and somebody like that. Like, I feel like Resistol or Stetson could latch on to somebody like that, maybe a Sam Elliott.
Yeah. What's interesting in the UK, Luke, is that there's a few top end couture brands that actually have worked with Laird. The Laird hats, the people that we went into. Joshua Kane is one, which I honestly I hadn't heard of Joshua Kane before a year ago when I started researching the market. But Joshua Kane, young lad, come out of design college in London, built up a couple of stores, very high, making for people like Jason Momoa and a few of the Bond actors and so on. And he this last year he was the couture designer of the year, I believe. I can't remember the exact title, but to think that his business, his designers himself, had worked with Laird and were offering a wool hat. In fact, I've got one of their hats that were labelled in association with Joshua Kane. And I reached out to Joshua Kane's office and said, look, I'm here. If you'd like to do a collaboration or something, obviously work in higher, because a jacket for from him is anything between 10,000 and £30,000. Yeah. So you would think that it would be appropriate to put together a hat that is of a beaver felt that's maybe £1,000 or £2,000, a bit like one or two of the top designers we know, and Nick Fouquet and so on. I've not heard anything at this stage, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that does the market actually know what good looks like? I mean, I don't know. In the UK, especially, I don't know, because we've only got 2 or 3 makers in the UK that will actually make a beaver felt hat these days.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to get hold of beaver felts at the moment. I may have to go to America, not literally go to America, but buy from America, because FEPSA haven't got what I want, and or rather what my customer wants. And it's a funny old market, and I just wondered whether that has anything to play with it. That we've got to know what good looks like, or what excellent looks like, before we can really define it, I guess. And we're always going to have mass market hat makers of baseball caps and an average sort of straw hats and beach hats and that sort of thing. But we're really talking out that next level and the next level up. So and we see an awful lot of wool felt hats in the UK that every time I go on to the various websites I look at, I get really concerned. I stop looking, because I see more and more wool hats. And I know that when the customers bought it and it's £150, and they're not going to get very good wear out of it. And in fact, for not much more, you can buy a rabbit fur felt that's made for them. You sort of want to reach out and give them a bit of a shake. Do you know what you get if you pay a little bit more?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Paul. You make, like, what does good look like? What is it? What is the current trends and things like that? That delivery truck just left, Luke, and it might have brought a familiar box. I wonder what it is. So let me get this opened up. It's fresh off the press here.
All right. Wow, that was very well planned.
So, are we switching topics?
No, actually, I think this plays right into it, because where's the hat market going? And this just came in. So I think with colors and designs, publicity, things like that, I think, and the versatility, I think it's going to be the next level in what hats can do for people. And I think that's going to create a little bit of market demand there. So
is that market to existing hat wearers, or encouraging people to cross the divide and become a hat wearer? Where do you see that?
Yeah, I've got one of each, actually. So one is this new Open Road in green. This is a dress weight Open Road. This is a PJM Open Road. I think this is for the current hat wearer. And this was, for me, this was to kind of experiment or test around with dress weight felts, because I'm looking for all weather, kind of all year round hat. And it's important to get the right weight right. So
Yeah.
That's one that just came in there. It's a green open road PJM special there.
What is the
And
weight on it?
Paul, what is the weight on this one?
It's about 150.
And I can tell you,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
it's stiffer than a it fits good. It's stiffer than a Stratoliner, but the weight reminds me a lot of a Stratoliner there. So
Yeah.
there's that one there. This
That's
is for the current hat wearer right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one
and
there.
here's
So
we talked about transformation. We talked about the open road being one of those kind of gateway hats, right? And where for those folks that are used to the Western style, you know, an open road is a good transition. And also the other way, for those folks that are into the fedora style, you know, that don't want to get into the Western, the open road provides that way to kind of straddle that line without taking a huge leap. Yeah.
so this next one here, I think, is going to play more into the other group that Robert mentioned, and how do you kind of create new hat wearers we've talked about, but how do you market, and I think versatility is going to play into that. So this is the next one that came. It started out as an open road and it kind of morphed into this. So here is this one.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So now maybe not the color so much, because somebody that doesn't wear a hat is not going to put a red hat on. Okay, I'm here to tell you. So it started out as an open road. We expanded the brim a little bit. We did more of a almost like a brick crown on there. It's got a slight taper as it comes to the front there. But here's what the versatility is what I'm talking about. So, and this is kind of next level hatting that PJM's been working on. Now it's this.
Yeah, I love it.
That's the same hat. So you've got this other band that, you know, if you want to wear it like this with maybe more of a dress situation, or maybe it's a casual setting, maybe it's that party or gathering that you're having, or if you put the other one on, it just slips right over that, and that becomes more of your casual wear. So I think with Robert's question, it is, this is next level. This is where the hat market, I think, is going, because you need versatility. So if you can imagine this hat in maybe a natural or a silver belly, or, you know, I know Robert sells probably more neutral colors than anything else because people will feel comfortable with that. Yeah. So if you had that color, and then you've got one of these bands that has a lot of neutral, earthy tones in there, you can imagine, you know, a hat like that would be something that would be a very hat friendly to someone maybe that doesn't wear hats all that often. So that's my two new additions. I've got a green PJM open road, and my red. I'm gonna have to Transformer. I think Luke named it. This is my Transformer hat right there.
We talked about like what innovations, what out there. Like we talked about Yabola hats. Thanks to Robert for introducing me to Yabola hats. You know, and they have that squish model. You know, you start thinking about things that can still be done. You know, like I said, I would have never thought about the double-decker band until, you know, we had the situation with your piece, Nathan, and then seeing it out in the wild in London. You know, it's one of those things where you're like, you don't know until you see it. And, you know, just when you think everything's been done, and maybe it has, maybe you're just a new twist on something that's already been done. But those things, you never know what's going to, you know, pull that lever for somebody.
And it may be just the value for money that people, you know, if it's marketed as, you know, one hat, two looks, is that something that people that haven't gone into hatting in a very big way would find interesting? Because as Nathan's just said, you know, that there's one look there for the jeans and t-shirt, and there's another look there for the jacket and slacks. And I actually quite like the idea. You know, I've been working on it with Nathan, and I think it works nicely. It's not
Yeah.
everybody's cup of tea, but it's different. That's all.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. And
I couldn't see from
Yeah.
the picture. So was one of those like, are they both on the hat at the same time and one is removable?
Yes.
So
Yes.
The
Yeah,
classic
that's-
bow, the classic bow and ribbon is first on the hat.
Yeah.
And then the other one is overlaid.
It is
on top.
overlaid. I made it so that it fits perfectly to the overlays, and actually, I organised the stitching behind the coloured brim so that it fits nicely over the top of that. The only thing is that just needs the grosgrain just needs organising there. But there's also the black. There's black trim so it doesn't fray and so on, and the black thin tie that's on there that also comes off as a stretchy material.
So the ribbon,
so
the classic ribbon stays on the hat
Correct.
all the time.
Yes, all the time. Yeah.
So you got several. That's the cording that Paul knows. I like these cordings, so I think it just adds a little bit of a Western touch to it. But
Yeah.
so that is your, that's sewed on, right, Paul? This is more permanent.
Yeah, I
So
think
then you've got. Oh, go ahead.
the gross grain's just folded down a bit, so it's obviously
Oh, sorry.
fold out. But
Yeah.
it's just how it how it's travelled. That's all.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, I was concerned that if it went through the customs and was opened, that they might think that the hat band is another additional product, and if
Yeah.
it hadn't been declared, that would stop the hat from coming. So I said, right, I'll put it on there permanently so it travels through customs and that as part of the one hat.
So you've got the cording, you've got your band here, and then the one that you can slide over. That's just a touch bigger than what's on there, but it does secure itself. I've noted, like when I put it on, it's not going anywhere unless I'm pulling it off. So, and then the other, and that logo looks beautiful in the red. But the other piece is, I told Paul, I was like, I'm undecided about the logo. He knows I like the first edition logo as well.
Yeah.
So if I want to, I can put this in. He's got that made up for me.
I love it.
And so now I've got, if you think about how many versions of this hat do I have? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 to 8 different versions that I can make this hat into.
Yeah.
And I think that's the next level. This is where the hat industry, I think, is going, is to create that versatility. That because if you're not a hat wearer and you're going to spend money to buy a hat, how often are you going to use it? Is it one event that you're going to use it? Well, if that's the case, then you need some versatility. So create some of these hat bands, different styles. This is the rabbit felt. So the next iteration would be, reshaping the crown if I ever wanted to do that. So you've got almost endless possibilities from this one hat purchase that you're going to be able to wear in different scenarios and circumstances. And I think that, and to Robert's point, is that a way to market to those that don't necessarily aren't really necessary hat wearers?
When you were going through that thing, one thing that popped in my mind that we haven't really talked about, but it's been in our conversations, is technology, right? I've borne witness to watching the 3D printing conversations that I've seen you gentlemen have, and it's one of those things I'm like, Robert surprised the heck out of me. I didn't know that he was as into 3D printing as he was, and he was as knowledgeable. So I just enjoyed the back and forth. I'm somebody that knows very little about 3D printing, but it was neat to see these various folks. Obviously, Josh was involved in that as well. And you saw Josh and Robert kind of have an impact on Paul getting a 3D printing machine. I think things like that, and obviously social media, the idea of this technology that we have, to communicate with each other across the pond, is going to help things like that happen.
I think it's I'm not sure for the professional hatter, but I think the 3D print revolution has certainly changed the game for the serious hobbyist.
Yeah.
Because it's lowered the barrier to entrance
I'd
consider.
much rather work with wood, Robert, but I'd much rather work with the wood blocks. But
Yeah.
the financial challenges and the actual ability to get them are the sort of two things that I'm still trying to come to terms with. I'm in awe of how many flanges and how many blocks you've got, Robert. But until I get the space to put them in, I can't have them. My wife told me I can't have them. But even once I've got the space, I'm not actually sure that I'll be able to find them here in the UK nowadays, because there's just not a lot around. And so it's a real challenge.
I last week I discovered the limitations of 3D printing because I melted a flange.
Wow.
Oh no.
It was made out of PETG rather than ABS, so it has a lower. ABS is the printers that can handle that, because the flange is quite large, and so you need a quite a large printer, and they run about $7,000. So it's a barrier too high for most. So my guy, he does it out of PETG, and on felts it's okay because you've got that layer of it's a buffer of the felt between the iron and the, but with straw, the steam and the heat just goes straight through the straw, and I wasn't cautious enough, and I just melted it.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at a set at the Hatter's Palace, and I'm just gonna I don't know, toss the rest of the set and bite the bullet and buy wood. Just be done with it.
Yeah. And I mean, hopefully that helps support some of those folks that are make their living. I know we talked about that as well. How the 3D printing market has eaten into some of those folks that produce those hat blocks. But again, another thing that we want to mention here is, despite the fact in addition to technology assisting in terms of these innovations, just communication, because I feel like a lot of us, at least the new folks that are into this, social media has been a big part of our journey, into the community. And to the degree that we can kind of make that transition easier for the new folks in the, that are just thinking about getting into the hobby, just being polite and sharing what we know. And that includes even for the hatters as well, right? We saw, I get to see a lot of the back and forth with Robert, Paul, and Josh, in the group chats. And I feel like that's a good model, and now I'm a member of the custom hat makers group as well. And I'm seeing that happen with a whole heck of a lot more hatters. And it's neat to see that, because, it's one of those things where it's like, it can probably be very intimidating to kind of go at it alone. But it helps when you have kind of another set of eyes, or multiple set of eyes.
I guess, as with anything, there is a huge upside. But related to that, there's also a big downside.
Right.
I mean, one of the things, the first few years of my hat making journey, back then, there was very few online resources. I don't really recall any. So it was 100% trial and error, tearing down Western hats, reverse engineering them, learning. And that is as a pathway, it's a tremendous learning experience.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the human condition, is like we learn the most effective lessons from our mistakes rather than from our victories.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed on the Custom Hat Maker page, because we're a resource, that with a lot of new hatters, there's a reluctance to it's one of my life mantras, and that's dare to fail.
Yeah.
It's like jump in, screw it up, and as long as you learn the lesson, nothing is wasted.
Right.
But I've noticed with the newer hatters, there's a real reluctance to do that. They want to know, And I think it's part of the internet age where like the absolute, like the world of information is there at our fingertip.
Yeah.
But there's a reluctance to dive in, screw it up, lick your wounds, learn your lesson, and move on. They want to know everything before they take the leap.
That's, Robert, you hit the nail right on the head, because I think in terms of, right, so we become kind of more of an instant culture, right? We're seeing a lot of the end product, you know, when we're seeing these videos and seeing these creations, but not so often we don't see the goose, right? So all the stories that you guys share in terms of like your failures and your challenges and your how you got here, your journeys, you know, you don't really get to see a whole lot of that, right? Everything's really like 60-second clips or whatever short form content, and what you're seeing is this end product, and you're like, oh yeah, it's easy.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and it's not.
It's not. No. Here's one I was working on earlier. I don't know where you can see it here,
Yeah.
but where are we there? It's where the shellac has really caused me a problem, and I don't think I'm going to bring this one back. But you know, it happens to the best of us. You know, and I thought, I wanted to stiffen the brim a little bit more than the crown, and then that's, you know, we
You're breaking up.
I tell you,
yeah.
You know, it happens to all of us.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's a gorgeous sweatband too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know how it lands, but I often tell the new hatters, it's like, if you're not ruining felts, you're not trying hard enough.
right.
I'll go for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
You know, I've been brought to tears by ruining a $400 felt.
Yeah.
Right.
It hurts.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if you frame it as, this is my apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I would add to that.
As long as you learn the lesson and you don't keep repeating that, you know, if you've got the sticking power, you'll be all right. You know,
Right.
it hurts in the moment, but it's like the only way through it is to go through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would add to that we're able to buy second quality felts in the marketplace, and a lot of these felts are you know, very, very small imperfections on them, and a lot of them are imperfections on the outside of the brim of the felt itself. And I think the point is, the manufacturers of the felts are actually trying to help, I think, young hatters or inexperienced hatters to practice, and they are absolutely ideal to practice on, and even make some really decent hats out of them, to be honest.
Yeah, some of my first it's a UK company, the Trimmings Company. It's a military supply house, but back when I first started, I could buy a second quality Tonak rabbit for $10.
Wow. Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like, for $10 I can root as many felts as I wanted, you know.
Yeah.
Those days are long gone, but yeah, it was awesome.
And it's a good point, actually, because it's what I hear a lot when I'm talking to some of the new hatters that are in the UK. That is a consideration for them: the cost of the equipment, the cost of the actual felt, and the fear of ruining them one or two. And you know, I've either helped or taught them through or whatever, and said, look, you need to get over this, because as part of your learning curve, you need to ruin 10, 20 felts, and don't expect to make a decent hat until you've made 50 hats. You know, maybe even more than that. I mean, I'm still learning, and I've probably done just under 400 hats now. So, you know, maybe more than that, I don't know. But you know, you just think, well, you're going to continue to learn all the time that you're working on hats.
Yeah, that and again, and that gets back to the idea of mentorship and some of these relationships that you build, this network, and you're able to do it a lot easier these days with technology. And then obviously Robert has his online course, you know, these various things that didn't exist but now exist thanks to, you know, folks like Robert and all the other folks that share their knowledge and their input. those things are going to be needed because again, you know, you're going to have a lot of folks. You have a new generation that maybe is not going to be as amenable to going through all the same things, and maybe it has to be kind of a halfway thing where we kind of raise things up a little bit to make it a little more accessible, and then as well as build up those skills, because I do think the stick to itness, I like to call it, that's a valuable skill, and it's something that can be developed over time. But you have to kind of know that why it's important to be able to do that.
Because there's kind of two big hills to climb. There's the first one of learning how to make a hat,
Right.
and then there's the second one, which is probably, it's not a hill, it's a mountain. Is how do you develop your business so that it's sustainable?
Right.
Yeah. It's so difficult. Yeah.
This is a very, very tough way to make a buck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd go as far to say in the UK, Robert, that that there's as proper hatters, I don't suppose there's any more than 10 or 12 that are actually making a full living from it. I'm not making a full living from it. I mean, it could be considered a level of living for some people, but you know, I think it's very hard. And I mean, you know, I'm very pleased to say that, you know, Robert's been very supportive of myself and helped me not only with his course, but with little bits along the way. You know, a supplier for here, I've got this challenge here. How do I do that? And I think that's what I like to think will happen in the development of the hats and how they get better and so on, is that the hatters that are left will actually talk to each other and help each other. Because let's be fair, for the volumes that we're doing, there's enough business out there.
Right.
But I think Robert's point about the climbing the mountain to actually make the business is very valid, because it is really the government decided to make business digital, and what that means is cost £500 a year for a small business is now nearly £2,000 a year because of all the software and things they have to buy, and it's dictated to by the government. Now, you know, we know, Robert, how many hats you have to sell to pay for £2,000, and it just takes you out of the market. You know, it really takes the wind out of your sails, as we say over here. You know, it suppresses your enthusiasm, and that's a shame, because you know, these are traditional skills that are very manual and very artistic. We get very emotional about our hats. You know, and you know, I was only saying to my wife about Nathan when he received that package and he looked at it, how you know, he'll give me the honest feedback, and that's, you know, that's very nice. And I've had, you know, I think 5 or 6 hats went out last week, and 5 of the people have come back to me, and I'm sure the same as Robert, that, you know, you get a buzz out of people saying, you know, thank you and how pleased they are. And you know, every time a hat leaves, you know, I remember what Robert said about your heart goes in your mouth as to, 1, is it going to fit? 2, are they going to like it? Is the color going to be what color they wanted? Because with technology, it changes sometimes. And so it's a little bit stress as well, being a hatter.
I mean, I'm 8 years in, and that's still the case with every hat that goes out the door. And I'm not sure I ever want that to change.
Keeps you on your toes.
It's like, one of the things I've learned in my blessed long life is fear is an incredibly important motivator for me. That fear that the hat in some way might not measure up. That drives me.
I smile because I had a conversation with one of my business consultancy customers this morning, and he mentioned to me that I put the fear of God up him, and I can't say on air what he actually said to me, but the reality was he then went away and he thought, I needed somebody to talk to me in plain, straightforward, you know, and actually give me a bit of a shake up. And I think we're a bit like that in what we do here. I got depressed this last couple of weeks about a couple of hats that I tried to make, and they didn't work out. And I find I have to leave them, you know, and not go in my hat room for a day or something, which I hate doing, to be honest with you. I hate it. Because I like it and enjoy doing what I do. But sometimes you just have to do that. You know, you get so close to it, and you get so emotionally drawn to it, and it's silly. It's a hat at the end of the day. You know, it's a piece of felt. You're trying to craft it. You're going to make mistakes.
Right.
It doesn't feel like that at the time.
My mentor told me this story, and it's I haven't done it, but I've been meaning to just have it calligraphed and put on a poster on my wall. And he said that he was a master bricklayer working with his father, and his father was a lifetime master bricklayer that did high-end projects and was a perfectionist. And towards the end of his father's career, they were working on a job. It was the end of a day, end of a long week, and they'd finished whatever it was. And it wasn't to the level of his usual perfection. And Art heard his dad say, "Nah, it's good enough." And he said that's the first and only time he ever heard his dad say, "That's good enough." And so Art said in that moment, he says, I made a pledge to myself that whatever I was doing, if those words ever came out of my mouth, that's when I quit. When I'm willing to settle for good enough,
Right.
that's a sign I'm done. And I thought that really resonated because it's like, I mean, that's part of my, it's like, yeah. And I haven't reached there yet. So, you know, I suspect one day I'll be just real tired and I'll have a tough hat and I'll send it out and I'll say to myself, it's good enough.
Yeah.
That's the day that I got to pack it in.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing is, of course, if we do find that our standards slip and our customers reflect it to us, and you know, I think I'm still improving on everything that I do, and the frustration is that I would like, I don't know whether I would like a proper ASM sewing machine, you know, the Singer 107, to put sweatbands on. At the moment, I do it with a leather sewing machine.
Right.
And I know the jury's out on that, but it would be nice to be able to get a better finish on things. It's so much money. I mean, you have to buy a machine from America, which is about $5,000, import it, and then put a motor on it and a table. And it's a lot of commitment, really.
Yeah. And I've reached a point where I take great pride in. Okay, I have to tell you. Do I have time to tell you? I have a hatting story to tell you.
Was it sure? Do it.
So the other day, it was a beautiful sunny day here, and my shop was in the garage, and I had the door open, and my neighbor came by, and so we were standing outside talking, and I saw these two women in their 30s walk up the stairs from the parking lot, and my first thought was Jehovah's Witnesses. They had that look about them, and so I finished talking to my neighbor, and sure enough, the two women came by, and they were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And they looked inside the garage, and of course, my shop is there in all its glory. And they said, "Oh my goodness, do you make hats?" And it was, And so we spent the next. Okay, so these are the evangelical Jehovah's Witnesses, right? We spent the next 30 minutes talking about hats.
So you're an evangelist now, then, Robert?
Yeah.
I hijacked the evangelicals, and one of the women. This is what made me think about it. I had a hat, so I was showing her, and I was showing her the stitching, and she was a seamstress, and I can never, you know, it's like my hat is just my hat, but she looked at my stitching and she said, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing. That is so even."
Yeah.
And I thought, oh,
hey,
okay.
that's
And then, so the punchline is, after 30 minutes, they said, "Well, we should let you get back to work." And they turned to walk away. And one of the women said to the other one, it's like, "Well, you should give him a pamphlet." And it was almost like, "Oh, of course." And so she came and handed me the pamphlet. So it's like, they could have actually walked away and not once spoken to Jehovah's Witnesses, and I thought
That's a first, I think, Robert. That's a first.
That's right.
I think okay, I need to put that on my resume. Damn it.
That's right. You threw them
Yeah,
off their game.
yeah.
They're like, that's right. We came here for a reason.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but
Oh dear,
I
yeah.
love it. Well,
Yeah.
gentlemen, we're at the hour mark. And I'm going to thank you both. Thank you to Robert. Thank you to Paul. Thank you to Nathan for joining us and doing some more hat reveals. And thank you to Morgan and Ian, to our faithful moderators in the chat, holding it down.
Thanks, Ian.
And thank you guys all for viewing. And you know how I'm going to leave you. Leave you like I always leave you. Oh, go ahead.
Paul, just a quick question. Did you buy any of Chris's ribbon?
I haven't. It's hit me at a time when I've bought some other supplies, a lot of other supplies,
Ah.
and so I'm going to give it a week or two. I'll have another look. But thank you for the contact.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I haven't received, but he's swamped with orders. So
I'm not surprised. It looks
I
lovely.
communicated with him this morning, and I said, "Don't sweat it, because I don't need the ribbon. Like, get to it when you get to it." But I
Yeah.
picked up another 1,000 yards that I don't need, but I couldn't resist.
No
You were a
worries, no
devil.
worries.
Yeah.
we keep it organic here. So I'm gonna leave you like I always leave you. You know, support these good folks. Support Robert, Paul, Josh, and all the other good folks in the Good Luke's network. Support all the good folks outside the Good Luke's network. But the one thing you got to do is non-negotiable. We won't get anybody after you, but what you got to do is you got to stay hatting, my friend. Have a great day. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.